Discover the incredible moment when a CEO embraced a single mom's baby, transforming lives forever. Emma's day began with a soft cry from her daughter, Mia, echoing in their small apartment. Pulling herself from the clutches of sleep, she fumbled through the darkness, feeling the weight of fatigue settle like a shroud. The sun had yet to rise, but her life was already a whirlwind. Diapers needed changing, bottles warmed, and schedules to coordinate with her 2 jobs. Each minute felt like a battle, and deep down, she questioned if this relentless cycle would ever break. At 28, she was already a single mother with scars of judgment from neighbors who whispered, another young mother trapped by her choices. As she dressed in her waitress uniform, a dream flickered in her mind, a nursing degree that felt forever out of reach. She imagined walking into a classroom, the smell of books and chalk dust mixing with hope, but the dream clashed with the enormity of her responsibilities. How could she justify the time and money when every penny earned had to provide for Mia? Tension gripped her chest, a familiar anchor that made her question if she would ever escape the exhausting cycle of waiting tables at the diner and pouring drinks at the bar. Doubt seeped in, creeping around her heart like a vine choking a flower. The diner was buzzing, patrons chatting as she moved through the clamor, her mind racing with the myriad of tasks that loomed ahead. Serving coffee to regulars, she couldn't help but spot the glances thrown her way. They came from customers, quiet judgments about her unkempt appearance and overtired disposition painted on familiar faces. Those expressions twisted her stomach with unease, her insecurities roared into her ears. Did they see her as a failure or simply a tired woman doing her best? Days blurred into nights, and still, the dream of nursing persisted, shadowed only by a fear of what could never be. She hesitated, questioning her worth. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The fragrance of fried food mingled with the sounds of clinking plates and laughter. Emma juggled trays, her mind a tempest of weariness and responsibility. Each attempt to connect with a thought about nursing dissolved under the weight of Mia's needs. The judgment from the outsiders congealed into a heavy dread that wrapped around her like a lifelong prison. If she stepped out to pursue her education, would she risk losing the only thing keeping her afloat? Even while she served, her resolve began to unravel. Each smile she plastered on felt like a mask slipping slowly. In the dim lighting of the bar later that evening, the tension clawed deeper. With every drink served, she felt growing pangs of longing and despair. What looked to others like determination to survive felt more like a dance on the edge of suffocation. As the night wore on, and exhaustion seeped deeper into her bones, the door swung open, letting in a rush of light and the figure of a man. Jake, the elusive CEO, was here, his presence commanding attention without intention. Suddenly, the noise around Emma faded and her world momentarily narrowed to the fervent thumping of her heart. He couldn't see the longing wrapped in her weary yearnings. Before she could contemplate her expectations, a single gesture unfurled. He reached toward Mia, his warm embrace breaking the bubble of her discontent. Emma felt an electric rush through her veins, and before she could comprehend the consequences, it ignited something unfamiliar within. Could this connection, however fleeting, lead to something that could lift her from the ground she felt so trapped on? Would she dare to hope again, or would this too turn to dust, leaving her more alone than before? As the moment suspended in time, doubt clung to her fiercely, yet a spark of determination kindled into an urgent flame. Would she finally find the strength to change her narrative, or would confronting her fears leave her vulnerable to deeper scars? The questions wrapped around her as heavily as the weight of Mia's small body, and Emma stood, poised at a precarious crossroads, heart racing with the indecision of what tomorrow might bring. Emma's heart raced as Jake held Mia, a mixture of bewilderment and unexpected warmth flooding her senses. She had anticipated the busy night, the endless tasks that would stretch her thin, but standing here, held captive by this moment, the familiar worries edged away, if only for the briefest second. The diner hummed around her, a cacophony of orders, laughter, and clattering silverware, yet she felt cocooned in something new and exhilarating. Jake's eyes sparkled as he cooed at Mia, and a soft smile tugged at the corners of his mouth. In that smile, Emma saw kindness that shocked her. It was akin to sunlight breaking through the clouds after a long storm. She knew he was successful and powerful, but as she observed him with her daughter, she felt an odd sense of possibility. Was this the universe nudging her toward her dreams? Suddenly, it dawned on her that this brief encounter could morph into something far more significant. What if Jake could be a connection to a world just beyond her reach? The thought flared up within her, igniting a tinge of hope that countered her usual skepticism. Would she dare to approach him, share her aspirations, and unveil the challenges that burdened her? Emma battled with the urge to retreat, to fall back into her comfort zone, but the spark of determination flared hotter. After Jake set Mia back down, Emma could no longer just be a passive observer in her life. The choice before her was tangible. She could either remain ensconced in the shadows, wrestling with her doubts, or step into the light and confront her fear of rejection. She caught Jake's eye, and an impulse surged through her. It was time to act. Taking a deep breath, she approached him, her mind buzzing with potential scenarios and rehearsed lines. Jake, she started, her voice slightly shaky, do you have a moment? He turned, genuine interest reflected in his expression. Of course, Emma. You're doing a fantastic job tonight, by the way, he said, glancing around the busy diner. His compliment momentarily reset her nerves, and she wove courage from the affirmation. Thanks. I wanted to tell you I've been thinking about going back to school to become a nurse. I believe it's what I've always wanted, but as she spoke, fear intertwined with her excitement, twisting the words escaping her lips. Jake listened intently, and oddly, this made her feel seen for the first time in a long while. But I can't figure out how. It feels impossible. Nothing is impossible, Emma, Jake replied, his tone warm yet grounded. You know, it often comes down to planning and leveraging your support systems. Support systems. She had never considered the word as something within her grasp, and yet, with each syllable he uttered, Emma's mind stretched. What if she sought out mentorship? What if she connected with people who could help her navigate this path? Have you thought about scholarships? Or even community programs? I could introduce you to some people. There it was again, hope building like a fragile manuscript ready to be rewritten. The weight on her chest loosened minutely, yet skepticism remained a fierce shadow. It's complicated, and I work so much. What if I fail? Failure is part of growth. You can't unlock your potential without taking risks, Jake replied, his voice steady, grounding her swirling thoughts. You're capable, and it's time you believed that too. Her heart swelled with emotions she hadn't allowed herself to feel, vibrations of ambition clawing against years of doubt. This single conversation was shifting something deep within her, a realization that she was not a failure but a woman who had survived through trials that only added a greater depth to her story. As they exchanged ideas, Emma felt her spirit unfurl, making room for visions of classrooms, stethoscopes, and the possibility of a future crafted by her hands. She was on the brink of something worth pursuing, but was she ready? The night drew to a close, and amidst the chaos, she found herself ready to seize the chaos as an opportunity. A resolve solidified within her, growing stronger with every moment she engaged with Jake. But just as determination filled the air, a familiar voice called from the other side of the diner, pulling her from her reverie. Emma. Can you come here? It was one of the regulars, a man with a sneer that had always made her stomach turn, a reminder of the judgments she loathed facing. What confrontation awaited her now? Would this be the hint of the judgment she so feared? Or an unexpected hurdle that demanded she step further into the light she had only begun to glimpse? Emma's journey was unfurling, and uncertainty lay nestled close by, ready to challenge her newfound ambitions. What would she do next? Emma steeled herself, her breath hitching for just a moment as she faced the sneering regular. The diner had become a center of her confidence and growth, but here was this man, an emblem of everything that intimidated her, the judgment and scrutiny she had spent years avoiding. Yeah. Her voice wavered, tenuously balanced between confrontational and uncertain. "What do you think you're doing? It's a busy night, and you're just standing around." His tone dripped with contempt. The laughter and chatter around them faded as her focus narrowed, but this was not the moment to withdraw. The glare from his eyes felt like ice, but it ignited a fire in her. What had Jake said? Growth required taking risks. She saw a possibility in this confrontation, not just a threat but a chance to bolster her resolve and define her aspirations in real time. "I'm helping, David," she replied firmly, meeting his glare head-on. "I'm trying to focus on building something better for myself and my daughter." "Build? You and what army?" he mocked, a smirk dancing across his face. As his ridicule swirled in the air, Emma took a breath, grasping her confidence like a lifeline. Failure had been an expectation hanging over her for too long. She could choose to embrace the way forward, regardless of his negativity. "Actually, I have a plan, and I'm working on it. I'm going back to school to become a nurse." Surprise flickered across David's face before he regained his composure. "Right. And what, just because you say it'll magically happen?" His laughter reverberated painfully, but Emma refused to allow it to puncture her newfound armor. Instead, it motivated her. "Yes, and I'm going to fight for it," she stated, knowing her thoughts were not simply for his benefit but crucial for herself. "Fight?" he scoffed. You'll never make it. You're just a waitress with a kid." Instinctively, she tightened her hands into fists, yet there was a calmness blossoming within her. She may have started as a waitress single-handedly raising a daughter, but she wasn't defined by those terms anymore. Every plate she served was a stepping stone, not a barrier. She recalled the warmth of Jake's voice, a reminder of the perseverance and tenacity within her. "I'm more than that. I'm more than you ever saw." Her words surprised even herself. Each one felt like a declaration, liberating an intrinsic strength. "I'm not finished yet." As David opened his mouth to retort, the shriek of a diner bell rang through the atmosphere. It was a chaotic moment as the waitstaff hustled to keep up with the incessant flow of patrons. Emma turned from him, head high, wishing she could leave the encounter behind. Yet, as anxiety fluttered in her chest, she resolved to count this interaction as a pivotal moment of courage. She had stood up for herself. With renewed determination flowing through her, she returned to Jake, who was still managing the whirlwind of a busy diner. She caught his eye, and he nodded encouragingly. Though she hadn't shared their entire conversation with him, she could see from his expression that he understood the quiet strength she was building within. "Did you talk to him?" Jake asked as she approached. "I did," she replied. "And I think I learned that challenging someone doesn't put me at risk, it defines me instead." "Exactly," he said, a smile breaking. "You have more power than you realize." Power. The word rattled in her mind long after their exchange. Just because she had held on to insecurities for so long didn't mean they had to dictate her future. With each passing moment, Emma began to envision life beyond the diner walls, classrooms filled with knowledge, patience to care for, and a future she could shape with intention. In the sanctuary of her thoughts, a keen awareness of her weaknesses morphed into an understanding of her strength. But just as she embraced this shift, another voice cut through the solidifying sense of empowerment, echoing through her mind, the familiar voice of her mother replayed in all its judgment. Could she ever be enough? Would she ever shake off the feeling of inadequacy? As these pangs of doubt surged, Emma found herself standing still, wrestling with what appeared to be resurfacing chains of anxiety. What awaited her on this journey ahead? Would she allow the specter of her past to loom over her? With determination fueling her next step, she glanced around the diner, realizing that challenges weren't brick walls but rather hurdles to leap over, forward momentum propelled by growth. And for the first time in a long while, the tinge of excitement crept back in. What awaited her in those next steps? The classroom, the mentorships, the sacrifices. Each question bubbled to the forefront, the path unfolding like layers of an intricate tapestry eager to be explored. As the night wore on, Emma remained poised, both anxious and resolved, knowing deep down that every moment was leading her closer to the light she had only begun to peer into. Yet, a flickering uncertainty lingered. Was she truly ready to fully embrace the journey ahead? The scales of self-doubt wavered, balancing precariously between fear and unstoppable ambition. What awaited her next? The clock ticked ceaselessly, and the next obstacle lay just around the corner, ready to test every ounce of resolve she had just begun to muster. The next morning, Emma woke up to the soft sounds of her daughter's breathing, each inhalation a reminder of her purpose. As Samantha shifted in her sleep, her curls bounced in the sunlight streaming through the window. Emma felt an undeniable urge to protect that innocence, a fire ignited within her, urging her to rise and face the day. With every intention to channel the resolve she had summoned the night before, Emma made her way to her kitchen table, where a multitude of nursing school brochures lay scattered. They felt like promises waiting to be fulfilled, a chance to manifest her dreams and set a new precedent for Samantha. As she sipped her coffee, the words of her mother replayed in her mind, an incessant whisper that critiqued and chastised her choices. "You're pursuing something that's way above your capacity, Emma." The thought could have crushed her spirit, yet an unexpected defiance surged within her. Those moments of doubt, rather than obstacles, began to unveil her grit. Deciding that today marked the first step towards her future, she picked up her phone and dialed the nursing school's admissions office. The ringing felt like a drumroll heralding her intentions, and each passing moment thrummed with possibility and fear. "Hello, I'd like to inquire about the nursing program," she said, her voice steady and clear, surprising even herself. The woman on the other end of the line provided a wealth of information and resources, but it was the final words that struck Emma deepest. "We're really looking for students who have the drive to succeed, even against the odds." Emma hung up, a deep sense of empowerment flooding her. The odds were indeed daunting, but she'd never shied away from challenges. Just thinking about enrolling caused her heart to quicken. The sheer weight of her ambitions pressed down on her, a mix of anxiety and excitement propelling her forward. At work that evening, the diner felt electric, charged with laughter and conversations. Every plate served was a step, a reminder that she was more than just a waitress. She was cultivating the strength needed to transform her life. Jake noticed her heightened energy as she bustled between tables, his encouraging smiles fueling her momentum. "Looking sharp today, Emma," he noted, leaning against the counter as she multitasked. "What has got you glowing?" She met his gaze, a recent determination painted across her features. "I made a decision about nursing school." "Really? That's fantastic." His enthusiasm was contagious. "Have you signed up yet?" "Not yet. But I called them today. I'm gathering all my materials." "Fantastic. You're making strides forward right before my eyes." His pride stirred a warm confidence in her chest. But as excitement bloomed, so did the shadows of self-doubt. With every kind word from Jake, the lingering echoes of her mother's voice returned, casting a shadow over her spirit. Could she truly handle both schooling and motherhood? The internal battle brewed, each slice of self-belief scraped against the rocks of hesitation. The diner grew quieter as the night settled in. In the lull of post-dinner calm, Emma found solace in her thoughts. This journey wouldn't be straightforward, it would push her past her limits and test her resolve in ways she couldn't yet imagine. She leaned against the counter, steeling herself against the internal fray. What if she faltered? What if she failed? These thoughts could drown her enthusiasm, but instead, she took a breath and replaced the fear with possibilities. Every doubt transformed into a decision, starting with dedicating a few late evenings to study. It was time for action. That night, she returned home to a sleeping Samantha, a vision of potential resting peacefully. Emma tucked a loose curl behind her daughter's ear and whispered, "I'm doing this for us." In that moment, Emma felt a shift, the weight no longer a burden but a motivation. In the glow of the kitchen light, she opened her laptop and began sketching out her study plan, piling an array of nursing books around her. However, excitement gradually gave way to a nagging thought: was her timing right? Balancing work, studies, and the responsibilities of single motherhood loomed larger than ever, threatening to unquench her newfound ambition. What if life had more challenges ready to unveil? As Emma sarcastically acknowledged this truth, she couldn't shake the notion that every effort she made could lead to unforeseen sacrifices. Tomorrow, she needed to face the reality of her schedule, carve out her priorities, and examine the true cost of pursuing her dreams. What awaited her when the sun rose again? Would her ambition withstand the pressures of daily life? Emma settled into her work, her heart beating steadily, ready to embrace whatever was coming next. The first rays of sunlight seeped through the curtains, washing the room in a soft hue. Emma's mind buzzed with thoughts as she sipped her coffee, her gaze drifting to Samantha, peacefully nestled beside her. The weight of her impending decisions loomed larger than ever, underscoring the urgency of her aspirations. Each moment brought her closer to a new chapter, yet filled her with trepidation. Today was the day she planned to confront her doubts head-on, to make the list she'd only mentally toyed with. Emma needed clarity. Her obstacles were not insurmountable but pieces of a puzzle she could control. Taking a deep breath, she reached for her laptop, determined to map out her path for the coming months, balancing work, study, and time for Samantha. With each keystroke, her thoughts solidified into actionable items. She divided her schedule into manageable segments: early morning study sessions before her shifts at the diner, afternoons spent with Samantha, and late nights dedicated to nursing materials. She invested time into organizing her notes, creating flashcards, and highlighting crucial sections of the textbooks. This plan wasn't merely a guide, it was a lifeline that tethered ambition to reality. As the afternoon unfolded, the thoughts of her mother crept back into her consciousness, but this time, Emma confronted them with a newfound resolve. She'd spent years allowing her mother's skepticism to tether her dreams. What if I succeed? She whispered to herself, firming the conviction in her voice. Fueled by this mantra, Emma was ready to defy her old patterns. Later that evening, as she entered the diner, the familiar sights and sounds wrapped around her like a cloak. Each laughter and clang of silverware felt like a grounding force. Jake met her at the door, his face brightening the moment he saw her. "Hey, superstar. Ready for another busy night?" he called out, his playful energy sparking something within her. "Absolutely," Emma replied, matching his enthusiasm. With each table she served, her confidence grew. She was not just a waitress but a warrior of sorts, preparing for an epic battle ahead. The interactions she had with customers felt buoyant, an affirmation that she was capable of greatness. In the middle of a particularly busy hour, a regular, an elderly man named Mr. Thompson, caught her at the counter. "Emma, you're really lighting up this place. You've got that spark again. What's changed?" The question made her pause. The thrill of her nursing aspirations hovered just beneath the surface, waiting for release. "I've decided to enroll in nursing school," she replied, the words spilling forth before she could think twice. Mr. Thompson's eyes widened. "That's incredible. Each time I see you, I think you're destined for something great. Don't let anyone tell you any different." His affirmation rippled through her, fortifying her inner resolve. Perhaps this endeavor wasn't just about herself and Samantha, it was about proving to the world and to herself that she had untapped potential. As the night wore on, Emma felt the weight of exhaustion settle in her bones, yet the energy sparked by her ambition shielded her from it. Thoughts raced through her mind, each decision was one step farther into uncharted territories. The true test loomed: would she have the courage to face external critiques, reignite old flames within, and push through unrelenting barriers? After closing time, Emma began gathering her things, a mixture of anticipation and anxiety swirling in her chest. She caught Jake's eye and felt a surge of determination course through her. "I'm going to do this," she said, almost to reassure herself. His approving nod, the warmth in his smile, felt like a personal endorsement of her journey. But as she stepped outside the diner into the cool night air, a thought nagged at the edges of her mind. Was she prepared for the scrutiny that came with ambition? Would her resolve hold when faced with real challenges? Emma took a deep breath and considered her next steps. Tomorrow, she would not only create a timeline for studying but also reach out to fellow future nursing students. Connection might just be the lifeline she needed. Just as she turned down the street, her phone buzzed. A message flashed on the screen. Can we meet? I have something important to discuss. Her heart raced. Who could it be? What new challenges awaited her in this evolving story? As uncertainty loomed large, Emma felt a blend of fear and excitement. Whatever this meeting was about, she sensed it would propel her further into the unknown, demanding her strength in ways she had yet to understand. The moment of truth was nearing, and she wasn't about to back down now. The next morning dawned with an unsettling mixture of anticipation and anxiety. Emma stared at her phone, the message blinking insistently like a beacon calling her into uncharted waters. Can we meet? The words lingered in her mind, each repetition amplifying her unease. Who was so eager to meet her, and what could they possibly want? Was it a mentor, an opportunity, or perhaps another reminder of the risks she was taking? She shook off the doubts, reminding herself of the list she created. She was resolute now. Today's objectives were clear: draft a timeline for her studies and initiate connections with potential fellow students. If she could reach out, perhaps she could find support in others navigating the same treacherous path. After her shift at the diner, she walked through the bustling streets, her heart in her throat. Each step toward the cafe, where she was supposed to meet her mysterious contact, felt heavy with implication. What if this was an opportunity precipitating a major breakthrough, yet also the potential for rejection? As she entered the cafe, the rich aroma of coffee mingled with the chatter of patrons. She scanned the room, anxiety high, until her gaze landed on a middle-aged woman sitting at a corner table, eagerly tapping her fingers along the surface. The woman lifted her head, and their eyes met. An unexpected wave of warmth emanated from her smile. "Emma, right?" she said, her voice clear and inviting. "I'm Linda. Thanks for coming." "Of course," Emma replied cautiously, sliding into the chair opposite her. Linda wasted no time. "I heard about your plans to go to nursing school. I wanted to talk to you about an initiative I'm involved in that could help. We're creating a support network for single parents entering the medical field, and I believe you'd be a tremendous addition." A ripple of confusion mixed with a glimmer of hope surged through Emma. Support? Network? She had not even imagined the idea of such a resource being available. Yet a creeping doubt whispered in the back of her mind: what if this was too much? "If I'm being honest, I haven't figured everything out yet," Emma confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if I can't handle it all?" Linda leaned forward, her expression earnest. "Emma, I understand the fear. But the truth is, the very challenges you face can forge resilience. You're not alone in this. We're in your corner. You have the potential to inspire others." In that moment, Emma felt an unexpected spark of connection. Linda's insight resonated deeper than the surface-level support she had anticipated. It was not just about nursing school, it was about community and empowering network built from shared struggles. The program includes mentorship, study groups, and even childcare assistance, Linda continued, her enthusiasm unraveling the potential that lay ahead. "Imagine being surrounded by people who understand exactly what you're going through, who've walked similar paths." Emma's heart beat faster. This was it. This was the lifeline she had been searching for. A blend of determination and exhilaration enveloped her as she processed the possibilities. "I want to be part of this," she said firmly, barely recognizing the strength in her own voice. However, beneath the excitement, a thought began to form, a whisper that warned her about the road ahead. Could she balance her new commitments with the existing demands of life? Was she prepared for the vulnerability that came with opening up to others? As the conversation flowed, Emma felt the pull of her own doubts competing against the bright prospect of belonging. In sharing her journey, was she exposing her weaknesses or displaying her courage? When the meeting concluded, she left the cafe lighter, yet each step was accompanied by a growing sense of duty. She was stepping deeper into a world requiring her to balance her ambitions and personal life with integrity. As she walked, thoughts tumbled through her mind. Would embracing this chance solidify her determination, or would it magnify her fears? Just as she made her way home, her phone buzzed again, this time with a notification from her nursing school application portal. The anticipation gripped her. She hesitated before unlocking her screen, heart racing at what she might discover. Would the next chapter unveil acceptance or rejection? Each choice felt like a collision of fate and intent, pushing her one step closer to revealing who she truly was beneath the surface. Emma stood still for a second, her breath caught in her throat as her fingers hovered above the screen. The notification taunted her, flickering like the uncertainty in her heart. What awaited her? Acceptance would mean the first real step toward her dreams. Rejection, however, could shatter the fragile hope that had begun to take shape within her. With a shaky exhale, she tapped the icon. The page loaded, and her pulse raced like a drumbeat in her ears. The moment stretched infinitely, time bending under the weight of possibility. Finally, the text emerged, stark and undeniable: application status, accepted. A wave of elation surged through her, mixing with disbelief and a flicker of fear. She wanted to leap with joy, but shadows of doubt crept in. Was she ready for this? For a split second, the excitement wavered as reality crashed in like a tidal wave. Nursing school? The rigorous demands and heightened expectations ahead loomed like an imposing wall. No. She wouldn't allow her fears to define her. This was her moment, a milestone that could alter the course of her life. Emma positively grinned, the uplift within her igniting renewed determination. In that leap of faith, she visualized her future, engaging with patients in the hospital, transforming lives, and perhaps even being a source of inspiration for the very network Linda had described. But this was merely the beginning. The philosophical tension within her intensified. She thought of her son, Lucas, asleep at home. Emma hesitated, picturing the long nights of studying that lay ahead, the juggling act of work, classes, and single motherhood becoming a delicate balancing act. Could she meet these challenges head-on without crumbling under the pressure? The fear that had once whispered threats in her ear now roared with gusto, seeking to reignite her insecurities. Despite herself, she had to confront one undeniable truth: she had to succeed not solely for her aspirations but for Lucas. It grew clearer that this journey was not just about achieving her personal goals. Every step forward was a step toward building a stable future for her child, a future defined by choices not limitations. Realizing she would need a plan, Emma sat down, the living room floor becoming her makeshift strategy center. She pulled out a notebook and began jotting down ideas, aspirations, and potential schedules. Slowly, the intimidating shadow of uncertainty began to take shape, not as a wall to block her path, but as a challenge to strategize against. Creating a structured daily routine emerged as a necessity. She would need to allocate time for coursework, Lucas needs, and practical study while keeping time to nurture her well-being. As patterns took shape on the pages, Emma felt the tension in her mind begin to unravel. Each plan highlighted her capacity for organization. This chaos could transform into empowerment if she embraced the responsibility head-on. However, even as she laid out her plans, dread began to rear its head again. The network Linda had introduced her to became more than an option, it was now essential. Leaning on others would relieve some of the weight she carried. Fears of inadequacy flashed through her mind. What if she wasn't good enough compared to the others in the program? What if she felt overwhelmingly isolated among her peers? Those thoughts were unhelpful. It was time to execute her strategy. Emma decided she would reach out to Linda that very evening, to dive deeper into the network, to position herself alongside others who shared her aspirations. After sending a quick message to Linda, a wave of exhilaration coursed through her, both exciting and terrifying. Whatever came next would require her to confront her fears directly, face the very doubts that had haunted her since starting this journey. Just as she settled back down, her phone buzzed again. Another message. No longer taunting but urging her to focus. It was from Linda. Emma, I'm thrilled for you. I have an introductory meeting for the group this Friday. Will you join us? Emma's heart raced. This was the first real opportunity to step into the community she needed. Her mind buzzed with the prospect, excitement battling with fear. Could she really do this? Embrace a world that demanded vulnerability and strength at the same time? As she typed her reply, a profound awareness settled in. It was time to engage, to move through the fear. Emma felt a shift, as if she was finally stepping into her own light. With that decision, she was faced with a choice. Would she deepen her connection with others or back away in trepidation? And then, a realization hit her. The journey was just beginning. It was the time to face not just her fears but her potential as well. With her heart set on the forthcoming meeting, she braced for what lay ahead, one step into the unknown that would define not just her professional aspirations but her very identity. Would she stand firm or falter when confronted with the reality of her new life? The next chapter beckoned what transformations awaited her within the confines of that supportive network. As Friday approached, the days danced between uncertainty and anticipation. Emma's heart quickened at the thought of the meeting, each beat a reminder of her commitment to stepping into this new chapter. She found herself battling a flurry of thoughts. What if the others were more polished, more experienced? What if she stumbled over her words or felt out of place in a circle of aspiring professionals? The morning of the meeting dawned gray and overcast, mirroring the tempest in her mind. Yet, as she prepared, she refused to let the weather or her insecurities define her. In the bathroom mirror, she straightened her posture, reminding herself of the woman's reflection staring back. This was the embodiment of a dream, a mother intent on building a future. She wore a blouse that made her feel confident, a simple nod toward her professional self. Today, she would embrace who she was, an emerging nurse, a devoted mother, and a passionate advocate for her aspirations. As the clock ticked closer to the meeting time, Emma felt the familiar pulse of doubt. She glanced over the notes she had made on her phone, the encouragement from her own words feeling almost foreign. The strategies, potential connections, and aspirations all felt formidable, but they also illuminated the path she was destined to follow. Finally, she arrived at the cafe where the meeting was set. The ambience buzzed with energy, filled with conversations and laughter, yet beneath it all, she felt a current of trepidation. Taking a deep breath, she pushed through the door, her heart hammering in her chest. At one of the tables, Emma spotted Linda, a beacon of warmth among the throng of strangers. As she approached, Linda stood, her smile instantaneously dispelling some of Emma's tension. Introductions were made, and they moved to a larger table where a diverse group had gathered, each person a testament to ambition and shared dreams. The conversations flowed easily as they discussed their journeys, aspirations, and what brought them to nursing. Emma felt her nerves begin to unwind, replaced by the thrill of belonging to a collective with a common goal. Still, a thin line of self-doubt persisted. It reared its head with every new story shared, a constant reminder that she had just started her journey while others seemed further along. "What's your specialty?" one woman asked, her enthusiasm infectious. "I want to work with pediatrics," Emma replied, her voice trembling slightly as she navigated the question. The hesitation felt like a stumbling block, a tangible reminder that she was still gaining her footing. "Really? That's amazing. I've always thought working with kids would be so rewarding," the woman replied, her eyes sparkling, which made Emma relax a little. Encouraged by the warmth of the group, Emma began to share her experiences, her motivations, and the dream that fueled her studies. With every word, she felt herself gaining ground not just in their eyes, but in her own heart. She was no longer just a single mom battling against the odds, she was an aspiring student surrounded by her allies, forging a path together. Discussion turned toward clinical challenges, ethics, and practical dilemmas they might face in the nursing field. Each opinion offered a glimpse into the realms of empathy, vulnerability, and strength, qualities Emma had often doubted in herself. The exchange sparked something within her, igniting a determination to deepen her knowledge. Yet, the nagging fear of inadequacy began to creep in once more. What if they found her lacking? She could feel the weight of their expectations pressing down. But as she watched them engage openly, constructive banter mingling with mutual respect, Emma realized the value of authenticity and collaboration. This was a space not just for learning, but for growth individually and collectively. By the time the meeting wrapped up, Emma felt a sense of burgeoning potential take root inside her. She had not only shared her aspirations but had begun to see herself reflected in the eyes of her peers. As the group exchanged contact information and plans for future meetings, she recognized an overwhelming sense of being part of something larger, a network that could bolster her through the highs and lows. She debriefed with Linda as they stood outside the cafe, the chill in the air invigorating after the warm discussions. "Thank you for bringing me here," Emma said, her voice steady and earnest. "I needed this," Linda replied with sincerity. "You belong here, Emma. Just remember, we all started somewhere." The drive home felt lighter, her mind shifting from doubt to determination. She thought of Lucas, the life she wanted to secure for him, the mother she aspired to be. It was all beginning to knit itself together, weaving her aspirations, challenges, and support into a cohesive vision. Just as she pulled into her driveway, a spark of inspiration flashed in her mind. Could she implement study strategies alongside her newfound support network? The more she contemplated this possibility, the more electric the thought became. However, as she turned off the ignition, another wave of uncertainty crashed over her. Would the others be willing to share resources and study techniques? Would they genuinely engage with her ideas? The questions lingered in the air, charged with the urgency of her next step. Emma resolved to dive into this challenge wholeheartedly, but the answers lay buried in yet another unknown. What other hidden competencies might she discover in this adventure? Her heart pounded as she opened her front door, eager to explore the depths of her potential, yet wary of what lay ahead. The excitement of new connections surged through her veins, jolting her from complacency, demanding she remain vigilant. The journey was only just beginning, and she had only begun to scratch the surface of who she could truly become. Emma's resolve crystallized into a plan as she settled into the routine of her week. The meeting had set off a ripple effect in her life, a tug toward deeper involvement in her studies and connections. Each day she found herself thinking of the group, their laughter, their challenges, and their shared zeal. They had painted a picture of a future that was both daunting and infinitely possible. Still, the reality of her obligations weighed on her. Mornings began early with Lucas, preparing breakfast while he clung to her leg, and her evenings were often consumed by the mountain of nursing texts that demanded her attention. Yet, within this chaos, a newfound energy surged in her. She found herself carving out moments for study, integrating flashcards into Lucas's bedtime routine, quizzing him playfully on anatomy terms. This approach added a layer of engagement, a way to invite him into her world and make learning feel like a shared journey. On Tuesday, she sent a group message to the gathering of peers, expressing her intentions to initiate a study group. The response was immediate and enthusiastic. Each reply fueled her determination. Several members offered their availability and suggestions on how to structure their sessions. A glimmer of excitement ignited in her. This was not merely academic, it was communal, a stepping stone toward mastery she hadn't dared to imagine. Wednesday loomed, promising the first official study session. As the afternoon sun dipped low, she prepared in her kitchen, laying out snacks and textbooks, her heart racing with anticipation. But as the clock ticked closer to the start time, doubt prickled the back of her mind. Was she ready to take charge? What if she faltered under the questions and discussions that would ensue? When the doorbell rang, Emma nearly stumbled over her own thoughts as she welcomed her peers. The small living room quickly filled with animated voices. Laughter danced amidst the nervous energy, and Emma felt an infusion of warmth, an antidote to her self-doubt. As they settled in, Emma took a deep breath, grounding herself in the shared space. "Let us focus on the fundamentals today," she suggested, her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest. She noticed nods of agreement and felt a surge of confidence. For the first time, she saw herself not just as a participant, but as a leader. The study session unfolded like a well-scripted play, with debates over ethical dilemmas and mock scenarios. Emma guided the conversation, drawing on her notes yet allowing the discussion to flow. She watched as her peers engaged passionately, their insights illuminating concepts that had once felt insurmountable. With every question she fielded, her confidence grew, revealing a hidden competency to connect theoretical knowledge to practical implications. As they delved into the intricacies of pediatric care, Emma introduced a case study she'd read about, intrigued by the varied motivations that guided each response. The room buzzed with differing perspectives and ideas, every contribution weaving a fabric of collective knowledge that enriched their understanding. Emma realized that they all equally had something to offer. Yet, just as she began to feel truly at ease, an unexpected comment from Sarah, one of the more experienced group members, cut through the camaraderie. "It's great you're leading this, Emma, but how do you plan to balance all this with being a mom?" The question hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. Emma's heart raced. Did Sarah see her as just a single mom, or as a professional in training? The challenge in Sarah's voice threatened to overshadow the progress she had made that night. But instead of shrinking back, Emma straightened her back, her voice firm. "I know what I'm capable of, and I'm committed to making this work. Being a mother is part of who I am, but it doesn't define my limits." The room fell silent, and Emma felt a pulse of energy shift. This was her moment not just to defend her choices but to assert her identity. However, Sarah's brow furrowed slightly in skepticism. The challenge was clear, the lingering notion of self-doubt coiled tightly around Emma. Would her actions really speak louder than her circumstances? The tension challenged her to confront the very insecurities she had been battling. As the meeting wrapped up, Emma felt exhilarated yet anxiously aware of the confrontation that lingered. A part of her thrummed with a need to prove her worth, not just to Sarah but to herself. Later, as she tucked Lucas into bed, the events of the evening replayed in her mind. Was this how growth felt? Unsteady, yet thrilling? The hurdles only marked the beginning of her evolution. With that revelation burgeoned an overwhelming desire to navigate this new chapter with deliberate strength, confronting doubts head-on. Yet, the question remained, how would she continue to assert her presence among her peers, especially in the face of skepticism? Tomorrow promised another chance at challenge she had never anticipated, the potential to rise or retreat. Emma nestled in bed, excitement and trepidation courting her dreams. The journey ahead shimmered with uncertainty, drawing her closer to the core truth of who she was becoming. As Emma stepped into the diner the next morning, she felt a shift in the air, an undercurrent of newfound confidence mixing with her usual routine. The morning sun poured through the windows, illuminating the once familiar space with a vibrance that matched the energy buzzing inside her. After last night's study session and the confrontation with Sarah, she had reclaimed a part of herself that had been obscured by doubt. Today was not just another day, it was a continuation of her journey toward a brighter future. Jake greeted her with an encouraging smile as she filled her apron pockets with order pads, a renewed sense of purpose guiding her movements. His upbeat demeanor reminded her of the support she had begun to embrace, and she took a moment to center herself. The din of patrons talking and orders being shouted filled her ears, a sound she had learned to navigate, and today, it felt invigorating rather than overwhelming. As she moved confidently through the floor, the interactions with the customers transformed from mere transactions to opportunities for connection. Each cup of coffee served, every meal plated, became part of her larger mission. The blending of her professional life with her dreams felt increasingly seamless, a testament to her resolve. Later in the evening, after an exhilarating day at the diner, Emma found herself again preparing for a study group meeting at her home. More students were eager to join, each one representing right possibilities, new perspectives, insights, and camaraderie. The group assembled, and as she introduced a new study technique called active recall, she noticed that her voice carried authority. Encouragement fueled her delivery, lighting a spark in the faces around her. Emma felt the apprehension that had clouded her previously melting away, replaced with an undeniable energy. "Let us put this into action," she declared. As they worked through case studies, she noticed how her leadership was forging a path for others to contribute freely. Her confidence swelled with every question and moment of engagement. She wasn't just leading, she was inviting collaboration, a mechanism of learning that thrived on shared experience. As they tackled a particularly intricate subject on patient care, Emma was surprised to find Sarah, who had challenged her previously, stepping up to add a perspective that complemented Emma's approach. Instead of rivalry, a sense of unity emerged. Doubt faded, replaced by the strength of communal growth. Their dialogue not only deepened their understanding but also began to form a bond of respect between them. After the study session finished, members lingered, discussing their personal journeys. One by one, they began to open up about their fears, hopes, and dreams, much like Emma had during their first meeting. The atmosphere shifted, a fabric of vulnerability and support weaved, and as Emma listened, she felt herself becoming a beacon of encouragement. The next interaction solidified the group's purpose, leading Emma to understand that this was more than just completion of a nursing degree. It was transformative and exploration of resilience fueled by shared stories. That night, Emma returned home to Lucas, who greeted her with an excited grin. She knelt, bringing him into her arms. "Guess what?" she asked, her voice carrying all the excitement of the day. "I've made some friends who are just like me, and they want to help each other learn." His eyes lit up. "Are you going to be a superhero nurse?" Gazing into his eyes, she felt a wave of pride. "Yes. And you'll be my little hero cheering me on." The words felt like an anchor. Every moment spent with her son anchored her purpose. As she tucked him into bed, Emma realized that with each hurdle she faced, she was not only redefining her narrative but also instilling strength and ambition in him. In the days that followed, Emma's confidence solidified as she engaged with her peers and shared her experiences as a single mother alongside their academic struggles. One afternoon, the group decided to host a small event within the diner to showcase their learning through presentations to friends and family. The thought of standing before her loved ones filled Emma with both anxiety and excitement. She envisioned Lucas beaming with pride and realized the support system she had built wasn't just for her, it meant the world to her son too. On the day of their first presentation, she stood in front of her peers, sharing concepts of pediatric nursing, weaving in personal anecdotes about the importance of compassion she had developed through her journey. When she looked up, she saw familiar faces nodding in appreciation not just for the information but for what it represented: growth, perseverance, and a sense of reality thriving amid the chaos. As she concluded her presentation, the applause reverberated in her heart, transforming doubt into affirmation. Lucas beamed from the crowd, and in that moment, she knew she had accomplished something grand. This was more than an academic win, it was a testament to her strength, a sign of her solidarity with others, and the realization of her personal transformation. When she stepped down, Jake shared a few words of encouragement about her work, and all Emma could think about was how this journey had brought about concrete change in her life. Each step forward felt monumental, and yet, her heart remained full of ambition. In embracing her identity as a student, a mother, and a guide to others, she felt an everlasting pulse of achievement within herself. She had learned to harness the power of vulnerability, to push through every doubt, and ultimately shape her life into one of purpose. Emma realized she was on the cusp of not just dreaming but doing. All at once, it became clear, she had conquered the overwhelming ebb of doubt that had once anchored her. She was well on her way to achieving her dreams, not just for herself but for Lucas as well. With determination fueling her heart, she stood poised, ready to continue navigating her educational journey with unyielding resolve. The transformation that began with a simple gesture of connection had blossomed into a reality far beyond her expectations. And as she moved forward, she recognized the journey was just beginning. Now, it's your turn. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support transcends boundaries. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. I want to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.